Now that I look back on the very beginning of Undead Unluck, I mean, I guess it's not too long ago. It's only, what, 15 chapters in. But early on in the series, you're still, like, speculating, like, what are the other characters going to be like? What's the main cast going to be like? We already had Andy and Izumo, but we didn't know about, what exactly was the group he was going to be called, part of, where, what was going to be the plot and everything. It's interesting to think about when we got introduced to Shen, and then you had that robot guy of, like, not getting that they were going to be well, not the robot guy. Shen was going to be part of the main group because the main characters actually ended up joining, who, at least at the time, seemed like the villains. And now we're going to be, figuring out more about them as, the chapters begin. So early in the series, we're probably going to get, I would guess, at least, like, 2 more, like, team-ups with, with other members of their union in order to take down some of these Uma and do the job from the Book of Revelations. And we're going to be finding out more about these guys. I just think that's really cool because when you think back about, like, the start, you never probably thought, oh, well, we're probably going to get, like, a ton of story on this, random guy that showed up early on. Because Shen looks like he's going to be, like, potentially the rival character to Andy. I can see it happening, at least currently. Maybe he's going to be more just like the really nice guy that's in the group. He's more of like a friendly dude, but he's got his badass martial arts style. But there could be a different character being the rival. At least as we know right now, he's the rival character, or at least the potential for one. So, as we left off in the last chapter, we had Shen kind of go up and land his, land a big hit on the spoil Uma with his staff. And I'm trying to remember exactly what it's called. Oh, Nyoibo. That's interesting because it was, I was trying to remember. I know that it's been in other media. Like, obviously, I think the most popular one, well, I mean, I guess the most popular one, Journey to the West, was Sun Wukong. Probably the most known, at least in the current day, would be Goku. And he's got, the Power Pole. But that's the dub name, and it's obviously the Nyoibo in the Japanese one. But I thought it was cool that they used this, because that was one of the things I liked about the last Sayuki, when that series, when they got Zero. I thought that was cool that all the characters are using kind of variations of it, like a piece of it that came off, and then it's just like, oh, how do they all incorporate it differently? But essentially, like, the description when they're kind of going about this, and it turns out that Shen actually has the real one. So within this world, you have, like, probably, like, different artifacts and stuff from legends, and they actually exist, and either, like, some bad guy will have it or the Union will have it. And it's interesting that Shen's gonna have that for the series. It's not like he's got, oh yeah, it's something with a similar power. It's like, no, this is the one. This is the one that came from, the stories and stuff. This is the one that, you'd read about, and that powers are based off of it. But he's got it. He can grow in size and length, which is pretty sick. And you see him just kind of, like, laying it on, beating up on this, on the Uma spoil. And he was like, oh, well, how exactly is he gonna go against him and figure out, like, his weakness? And we know that there is some form of method to increasing the time on being spoiled. But he brings up that when he saw it go against, get up close to Izumo, that he realized that it must have some kind of, like, field around it that it won't, like, is like an automatic, yeah, nothing will get spoiled within this area. So that means that he has to be, like, within his own bubble so he won't get affected by his power. Reminds me a lot of Baragon from Bleach, because that was one of the things that Hachi realized when he was fighting him, because as Baragon was, like, he was actually susceptible, if you remember, to his own power, his own Respira, but Hachi's like, oh, he must have, like, some kind of, like, field around him to not be affected by it, because we know how he died. He was affected by his own power, because he teleported inside of his body. Interesting fight, and I just like that kind of, like, maybe it's a callback, maybe it's like a reference, I don't know. There didn't seem to be anything other than that. Other than it's like, oh yeah, he's got an AoE attack that they work sort of similar, but I mean with Baragon's it was aging, and then this with the Umas it's more like rotting. But I guess, like, really kind of look at them both as, like, decaying over time sort of thing. Either way, it's still both really cool powers. But and he's like, okay, so all I got to do is fight him up close. And Shen, so from what we've seen, is a very melee combat orientated character. And then even say, like, well, maybe, like, his power, like, he actually, like, it emits some kind of mist, which lines up with when we saw his first form, he had those, like, little towers on his body, kind of like, and you'd see, like, some form of factory. They have those big silos with smoke coming out of them. I'm not a master of whatever they do, but I've seen them. I've seen the, you know what I'm talking about. It's got some big ass tower, a big old thing of smoke coming out. There was a town that I've gone through that had one of those, and it's like you never really could see the sky when they've got all this stuff coming out. But yeah, he just got all those out, so I think it kind of confirms, gives some good hints at it. And all he's got to do is keep in strong and keep hitting him, so he's just got to keep within range. But they know that he's like, okay, well, what if we have to do in order to kind of get that set up? He's still got the beams, though, so he can still try and hit him with the beams. He's obviously very dangerous. But we find out some more information on what Shen's power is. He can kind of like affect you in your mind and make you do like the opposite of what you were trying to do. Which, like, we remember back from like when he first was introduced, like, it seemed to be like, you try and run, he's gonna make it so your body's not gonna work. You're gonna kind of just stay there. But like the rule for having it activate is he's got to become fond of his target. So he's got to like. Essentially, seemingly, he's got to like learn to appreciate to a degree like his opponent, which is still pretty cool. I like that trait, so we're probably gonna get like a much more compassionate kind of fighter from him, where he's gonna, he's just melee fighting, and it's gonna be like, well, why isn't his power working? And it'll probably have something to do with like the way that he reacts to a character. He's like, oh, I can't appreciate you at all, like the way that your ideals or something kind of work out. I think that'll be really cool, like in the future. But like Andy's like down at the start of the chapter. He's not getting up, but he kind of decides like through it, to go back and get in there and help. And he's like, well, I guess I'll try using some of these, explosions from the buildings again. He like grabs Izumo's sides before he gets up, and because we touched her, the unluck power kind of takes place. There's like a big fissure in the ground. He falls down, and he's just like lost within this like crevice in this cavity in the ground, to where we see like the plan between them kind of stick out, and he's like, oh, well, what are we gonna do here? Well, Andy's power to regenerate, at least currently, isn't fast enough to keep up with like on full level with the spoil. So like, what are we gonna do? Well, to beat him, we'll have to go somewhere where like the mist isn't really gonna do anything. And we know from the start that Andy in that card in his head, that metal slab, if he takes it out, like it has something to do with, it's like blocking out his memories by putting something in his brain. Because he's over 100 years old, so he's got a lot of memories. He doesn't want to kind of just like lose control. So we haven't seen since then, since chapter 1, him take it out. And now that he's getting like shot into space from Shen's Nyoibo, he's just going to extend Uma's spoil and Andy right up into orbit to where his mist isn't going to do anything so they can defeat him. But he took the card out of his head, gave it to Shen, so we're going to get to see some full power Andy, and maybe even a little bit of hinting at his backstory and stuff in the next chapter. So pretty good. I'm liking where this fight is concluding, and it's being done so in a pretty epic, like crazy way that fits into Undead Unluck. I'm definitely really enjoying some of these, you have Chainsaw Man and Undead Unluck, and how their kind of themes are being very, very crazy and wild and over the top, like insane. And so I'm beating this opponent instead of just like, oh, we drop him into a bigger thing of explosions or something, and we do some pretty badass team attack. It's like, oh no, we're gonna push him into space. We're just gonna push him into space and then defeat him there where his powers don't work. I just thought that was kind of pretty cool. I mean, I like when you have like a badass team up, but their solution is something insane like this. It'd be like, well, what if we throw him and Andy into a volcano and then cause it to erupt? It's like, okay, man, you guys are getting pretty wild. So looking forward to that. Actually, even on top of just badass like way to defeat him, I'm really looking forward to seeing like what kind of spreads we're gonna get from Andy in space. I think it'll be super badass. Maybe like, he'll do some like full out move, and then you'll see like the stars in the background, just like a really appealing shot of in the manga in general, and like seeing the guy's art. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. Other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this chapter, and tell me your thoughts are coming up. This is a side note, because we're getting like a lot of these members of the Union. We've got the first one really up. We got Shen. Which of them are you most interested in? For me, I would say either that, like the was Tatiana, the chick in the robot. At least I'm pretty sure it was stated to be a chick. I'd have to go back and look. I think it's hinted at a chick. Otherwise, like the gun dude looks really cool. The cowboy guy, he looks like a badass. But other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.